So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. We're healing the border wound, and that's a kind of interesting way of putting it. It's the border between United States and Mexico, of course, but really we're talking about the borders that we put up between ourselves and other people. And we can look at all the limiting beliefs that have been held collectively down through the ages and passed on from generation to generation. Really, basically, those limiting beliefs come from traumas that were experienced maybe many generations ago, and they keep getting passed on down. The belief that we're alone, we're separate, that the other is the other, that other people are the other, and that we have to put up walls between us, symbolically, or in fact, in this case, a real one, which so eloquently symbolizes the problem. And we get blinded to the fact that these people who we want to keep out enrich our lives. And in fact, our lives are enriched always by coming together and cooperating. It's so strange that the times that most of us discover this are times of emergency, crisis. So the core belief that is beneath all these other ones, that the others are dangerous, that we need to be protected, is this idea that we are separate, that we are a separate self, an entity that is alone in a random world. That's what we've believed for the last few generations, the last few hundred years. And science has certainly upheld that. Things are shifting. That's the good news. So things are shifting. But it's harder to shift the actual felt sense of that. Conceptually, we can understand this. We can understand that we are, in fact, pure consciousness. And that everything is made of that substance, which is not a substance. But to feel it, to actually live it, to embody that understanding is something which is more difficult. Probably because these limiting beliefs are unconscious, and we've been programmed not only in our lives, but we've inherited the programming from our ancestors. So it takes some work, and there are a number of ways of doing this. Self-inquiry, which has come down from the Indian tradition, and then from the Chinese tradition, we have Qigong, and particularly this form of Qigong, which is so rich. So, many forms of Qigong don't have a philosophy, they don't have a theory behind them. And this one has a very extensive theory, the entirety theory that Dr. Pang has written about in many, many books, most of which have not been translated, but there are some, and it's really worth getting his books. And you can go to Amazon and find his books. So what happens, okay, so I want to talk now a little bit about what we're going to be doing today. And some of you are very familiar with this, and some of you maybe not quite so familiar. But, some years ago, there was a kind of fad. The film came out, The Secret, and the book, The Secret, and people said, oh my gosh, we can just create by thinking something, having an intention, and we'll manifest it like that. And it was a little bit simplistic. What they left out is the Qigong state. That's one way of putting it. Another way of putting it, which is what the Indian spiritual tradition would say, is really basically knowing yourself. as the awareness of your experiences rather than being lost in the experiences. So we have to actually dissolve that limiting belief of being a separate self in order to do this creative process that can truly manifest what we are putting as information into the field, structuring it. So Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I've done some work with, and some of you have, I know, talks about becoming no one, no thing, nowhere, in no time. And that's really the Qigong experience. When you truly are in a Qigong state, you're no longer really aware of yourself as a separate being. You feel completely expanded, and you are the universe, you're the field. And that's the state we want to be in when we imagine whatever it is that we want to bring into being. And I wrote in the newsletter, and I think it's the most important line, if we can imagine it, we can create it. I think this is something that is so important for us all to remember right now, when there are so many situations like the border issue, which feel really, let's face it, sometimes it's overwhelming. And if we can remember that if we get together with other people, because this is where the power is, and we've always known this, every spiritual tradition has talked about Christianity, when 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name. It's the same as saying when we get together in a chi field and know ourselves as the universe. So we need to remember that we have this way of imagining the future, of actually having a vision of what it is we want to bring about. And I can't think of a more important time in history than now to do that, especially when there's so much fear on the planet, so much despair and denial of what's really happening. To have the courage to keep a sustained gaze on what's going on, and at the same time to reach out to each other and create these opportunities to be together and envision what it is we want to bring into being, what it is that would feel wonderful for us individually and collectively. We're going to hone in on a transition regarding this particular issue on the border. So if you would settle down now and find a really comfortable place to sit. You could lie down if you wished to. You're most welcome to really make yourself comfy. And then close your eyes. Bring your attention inside. And what we're going to do is sink our minds down into the heart of awareness. There's a line from Rumi. Flow down and down into ever widening rings of being. So we start with the center of our heads. This energy center of consciousness. The Senji Palace. Focusing on Senji and chanting very quietly Senji to awaken this portal. Senji. 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 Keep chanting silently, moving your mouth, but no sound coming out. I will whisper so you can hear and we can do it together. Sanji. 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 Feeling the calmness, the quietness, the emptiness of Senji expanding to fill the whole head, relaxing. And flowing down into the empty neck, down into the empty shoulders, relaxing, relaxing down the empty arms and hands. Feeling, sensing the emptiness, the relaxation in the chest and the abdomen, the spine, empty and relaxed. Feeling the interior of the legs and feet, empty, relaxing. Sensing the whole body fully present, empty, relaxing. Feeling the whole body open, expanding the head up into the void above, becoming a larger being. Head and sky merging. Expanding the feet and legs down into the earth. Merging with the earth. Feeling the front of the body expanding forwards into the distance and beyond. Feeling the back of the body expanding behind you, out into the distance and beyond. The left side of the body expanding beyond the known into the unknown. Feeling the right side expanding out. Feeling yourself as a vast being, without boundaries, without limits. Merged with the entire universe. And bringing into the empty space inside a circle of beings. Imagine these beings as beings of light, shimmering light. All the masters of consciousness and energy down through the ages. All the participants who practice these wisdom traditions. A vast circle. All of us holding the same intention to dissolve these old, ancient, limiting patterns of thinking that have separated us creating so much suffering for us individually and collectively. And now threaten the future of our species and many, many other species. All of us holding this strong intention to dissolve these limitations and come together in a new way. Feeling the power of our mutual intention in the field, seeding the field. And bringing in to the center of the circle all the people involved in the border issue. The people who are being detained, the people whose jobs are to detain them, the people in Washington, in offices around the country who have influence on the situation. And all the people who are offering their service in physical ways and energetic. Who are contributing to the healing of the border wound. Feeling, sensing, all of us together in this vast field that we all are. Feeling the absence of any division, any sense of otherness completely dissolved. The oneness so visceral, so real. Enjoying our shared being. Truly, this is love. enjoy being love. Now imagine all the people being detained, the parents and the children, all feeling this love penetrating, penetrating through the layers of contraction, opening those layers up, relaxing, penetrating all the way to the core of their beings. And awakening the infinite light of being inside them, shining, shining now with that light. And imagine all those whose jobs it is to detain these people. Imagine this love, this shared love, penetrating through the outer layers of contraction, opening up each layer as the love pours in, pours all the way in to their hearts. Heart and mind merging in this love, shining. All these people shining with the light of infinite being. And imagine that all those in high places who have power over this situation, imagine them sitting in their offices, and this light, this love, this peace, this harmony pours in, lighting up the room around them. Penetrates through the skin, muscles, the tissues, into all the organs, into the bones. Transforming all the information in their bodies, locked, hidden in their bodies. All that information that convinced them that these policies were okay. All the foundations for these policies crumbling. Leaving this wonderful sense of connection, this feeling they'd been looking for all their lives, believing they'd find it from somewhere out there. Finding it inside. Imagining in all these offices, these people at their desks, with the flame of love igniting inside them, burning brightly. Going home, talking to their families, their loved ones. This flame of love inside, contagious. Imagine this happening all through the country. An outpouring of caring, the natural response. Imagine the news being carried through the internet, through our global brain, connecting with people all around the world, watching this unfolding. Imagine the contagion. This loving connection happening in the United States, inspiring people in other countries, in all walks of life. People talking to each other about how did this happen? People turning to people who understood, who know that we are not separate entities made of matter. We are spirit. We are energy. We are consciousness. We are awareness, whatever word we want to use. It's not matter. And we're not separate. People feeling this and understanding this and feeling so relieved. Realizing we don't need to go down this path of destruction anymore. Having things, having money, accumulation of possessions doesn't bring happiness. Those who have it know that. That idea, crumbling at its foundation, as this sense of unity, connection, collaboration, caring, becomes so palpable all around the world. This is what we want. This is what we want. Imagine an entire world without boundaries. All borders eradicated, moving freely, learning from each other. A global Marshall Plan. A new world order based on cooperation and collaboration. Let your creativity flow. You are the source, dreaming the world. into being.